Alright, people, and welcome back to the show. Now, as promised, we have ourselves a developer interview. So here I am with Mike of Marooners fame. So, just in case you're not up to date with what Marooners is, or who Mike is, I've got the
Yeah.
person most qualified to talk about Mike, and that is Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm
No
glad to be
problem.
able to talk about myself again. To introduce myself, I made Marooners in online global game jam. It was then called Paradox in Paradise. That was 2015. And for about 11 years right now, I'm running my own game studio M2H in the Netherlands. So we're also known of Verdun and the World War One game series. But we're here to talk about Marooners today. Marooners is a party game we made when the team was, let me check it again. The team was What Do We Do Now? So that made us think about Marooners, where we made a chaotic party game that switched between minigames every few seconds. And then switched back again to continue every minigame, but switching back and forth. It's really a wild concept, so maybe you better show the video to elaborate on that.
Alright, let's give it a run.
Yeah, thanks.
A legendary treasure on a faraway island.
Is it
A
running?
mix of exotic
Yeah, so
treasure
they'll hear us
hunters
over the top.
Right.
and one
Yeah, so
terrible
this is of course not the
curse.
global game jam version. This is the version we made about 1 or 2 years after that.
Just
global
as you're
game
playing a minigame,
jam, where you can really see
you
the
switch.
minigame switching back and forth and,
And switch.
world map in between the games.
And
this
switch
is all
back.
missing on the game jam, of course.
And
The
switch
game jam
again.
is much more
Switch,
bare bone, but
switch,
definitely the
switch.
same mechanics and minigames were
choose your
already
favorite
there.
marooner and run, jump, and slap your way to victory.
Yes, so just while that
Whatever you
finishes
do,
off,
don't
it's
die.
obviously a huge game now. Like
Play
you can
this
see the
exciting
time
party
has gone
game with your
quick.
friends in the comfort of your
So-
own
Yeah.
living room.
And
or
that
with
all
your
came
friends
from that
online.
tiny nugget you built in
Or
that
with everyone
48
online.
hours all those years
Or in
ago.
any combination of up to
Yeah,
6
we were
players
quite naive,
in
so we
party
finished
mode
that game.
or
It was really
arena
quite
mode.
playable with multiplayer
Can you handle
online
the
and
chaos?
local at
Get
the game
Marooners
jam.
now.
But we then, in the months after that game jam, the 6 of that team all agreed to make a commercial product out of this, and we estimated it would take another 10 days or so. I mean, if we could make this prototype in a weekend, we could make a commercial game in 10 days, we thought at the time.
That
But of
seems
course,
reasonable.
that was really naive, and we added another 30 or 40 work days of all of us in the next year or so. And later on,
Wow.
we even added a console port that cost a lot of more work.
Yeah, so just looking at that, so I can see the advert is for Switch. Is that the only platform you're on?
No, this. Oh, right, this is the latest video for Switch. Now we started on Steam, and about a year later we added PlayStation and Xbox at the same time. And like last year we added Switch finally. So we're on 3 consoles and Steam.
Yeah, so does each platform you add bring in this? Is it routine or does it just bring in another bucket of worms to unpack?
Yeah, it's always, even if you have like prepared your UI and your game for multiple controllers and multiple aspect ratios, you still have a lot of work per platform, and you have to deal with their own quality issues and their QA. So, but yeah, our philosophy from my game studio M2H is that we really try to put our products on all platforms, since it's always a new lot in the lottery. Yeah, to make it big.
That's really cool. So I guess right now it depends where we are in the world. So the Australia end, we've already started jamming. Across the world, some people are only just starting. I think Hawaii haven't even started yet. And
Yeah.
yeah, Hawaii's at that end, Australia's at this end, and we finish and they're halfway through. So for some people, they're still in that forming a concept stage. So if you can remember back to when you came up with this idea, was it the first idea you came up with? Was it the last one? Was it not even an
No,
idea?
we took our time, since we've done a few jams with this team, of most of the team actually. So I believe we took until 8 or 9, and like we started at 4, and at 8 or 9 we finally really got to work. Since we know it's important to have a good idea and to work out the planning a little bit. But yeah, we struggled at agreeing about the game idea first for the most while. So yeah, you still have some time, even in Australia, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's I've seen on our Discord a lot of people are busy bees, and there was a huge amount of chatter, and it started to go quiet. So I feel like
Yeah.
people are getting to that point where they've gone, this is what we're going to build, and by this we're probably still picking this much in this much of a weekend, but it always works out, right? Not
Yeah,
always to the
yeah.
levels of success you've managed, but you're not the only ones that have succeeded. So, and I'm sure probably every year we have a few games that end up to grow studios like yours. So, with Marooners, you came up with your concept, and then did you sleep? Did you build?
Oh yeah, we like that was 9 p.m. and then we started building until probably 1 a.m. or something. But our artist actually he called his girlfriend to get some energy drinks, and I believe he only slept for 3 hours the whole weekend. So there was a lot of artwork going in there, and a really unhealthy way of developing games.
Hopefully, not one you've taken into your company.
No.
I don't think he'd survive how many platforms you've delivered on at that rate.
Oh no, of course the game jam crunch is only fun for a weekend, and we never crunch in our own times. No.
Absolutely love to hear that. So, oh, I got USB unplugging. So, as as you developed the idea, you said you went to bed at 1. So, did your team hit a milestone when you went to bed? Was there like, did you all just burn out and go, we need to sleep, or did you get to a point where you could see something worthwhile?
Yeah, I think we just stopped whenever we were really too tired. It's not that we stopped based on milestones, but we did, of course, plan roughly in advance what we want to do and what would be doable. Since, yeah, it wouldn't make sense to just rush in and work on really big features that you're never gonna finish in a weekend.
No, that's really, really cool. And then, how did the rest of your weekend go? Like, did your idea come out really quickly on your sat? So in Australia, we've got like the Friday night, Saturday's building, and then Sunday really is normally just fixing all the horrible, horrible bugs that you'd
Yeah,
really
Sunday's
put
work.
aside. You're like, ah, that's easy. I can fix that in 10 minutes or 2 hours.
Yeah, it's. I think Saturday night is the best time since then the game is finally getting into shape and you're starting to see what the game is about. In the case of Marooners, you have the first mini games and you can actually switch between mini games, which was the core of the experience. And yeah, I believe we started having fun when our favorite mini game was finished. So yeah, Saturday night is the peak, and then it gets worse from there.
That's awesome. And I guess I have to ask now, which is your favorite minigame?
Oh, it's the where you run down and the rocks are just falling on you. Especially because it's so random and you really can't outrun the rocks.
There's a bit of Donkey Kong in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, so something else I would very much like to add, and I'll just play a quick cut over the top of us of Captain Hindsight flying in. So, for those of you who aren't aware, Captain Hindsight is a South Park creation, and he comes in to tell you what you should have done to save the day. So, cutting back to us, what would be your Captain Hindsight for the Jammers? Going back, what did you want to know before the jam happened?
Yeah, not much really. You really got to experience all the struggles yourself in order to really know why you're doing something different. Like it's really important to make a rough planning of what's doable, etc. It's of course important to make a good team. It's important for the commercial release afterwards to have to make agreements about how you do the licensing with each other, how you work together, since you're probably not one company already. But yeah, it's just really something you just gotta struggle with and keep pushing and just going for it. So
Excellent.
there's
So
no one
hopefully,
big lesson that I should have known beforehand. It's just yeah, experience it yourself.
excellent. So hopefully all the people out there listening are enjoying their current struggles. I'll just see if anyone's got any
Yeah.
questions they'd like to give you. Any questions for Mike, people? What would you like to know about taking a Game Jam game and then through 10 hours plus a little bit making it into something fabulous and starting a company? So
Yeah, it was
it
easily
might be a little
like
early
8
to take your Game Jam game and ship it, but you know, in 30 hours you might be thinking that way. Oh, here we go. What's Lump got for us? Fun story. His son was doing IGAD, which is a game uni breeder, and I did a game jam twice at his school. Ah, so much fun. He's working for a AAA company now. Proud dad. Ah, I would be incredibly proud to have someone working on AAA.
Yeah.
And game jams as well. Love them. So, Mike, how many jams have you done? Is it countable?
I believe I did about 5 between 2010 and 2015. Then I stopped for a while, and today I'm finally participating again. I'm here in the Netherlands. It starts about in 2 hours from now.
Oh, wow.
So
So,
looking forward.
yeah, bad news, people. We have professional competition here. Good news is, for anyone who's tuned in, you've got about a 2 hour head start.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's really, really cool. And obviously, there has to be something different about a game jam because you build games all week and then you get the weekend and you go and build games. What makes it different? What makes it not just another work day?
Being naive again about it being a small game. It's so much easier if you're working on such a small scope. I mean, this whole week I've been working on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, up until 8 p.m. sometimes to finish a current game we're wrapping up. And it's just really lovely to work on something small again. So, such a clear small project.
Nice. Yeah. And I know I've done game jams in the past where I should have put more emphasis on the small project. We're like, this is really cool. We could network it. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
probably the worst sentence I've said in every game jam of the last decade. That
I keep doing
featured.
that as well. I'm always adding networking or local multiplayer, but this year, thanks to Corona, I don't really have to. At least not local multiplayer.
Nice. No more questions. Ah, we are Lumps reckons we're lucky that they are not there with their son joining this year. They're throwing down some shade. Or fear, I'm not sure which. I'm a little disappointed you're not joining us to build. Hopefully next year you can turn that around and come make games with us. So, we haven't got any other questions at the moment. But, is there anything else you'd like to share with people? Jammers out there are working away, listening to us in the background.
Yeah.
You can do
Well,
it.
I'm really loving the team, so I'm really looking forward to what people do with the team. It's really giving me a lot of ideas right away. I mean, it sounds like hidden treasures, etc., and it sparks much more creativity than previous teams for me, at least.
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of teams, given you've got clocked up 4 or 5 game jams, you've probably been with a few different team sizes. What's the smallest team
Yeah.
you've worked with and the biggest?
Always between 4 and 6.
So, what is the... It's hard to phrase. I've seen teams as small as 1, and they can make some remarkably cool things. And
Oh yeah.
I've seen teams, huge teams, like 10 people that absolutely, it terrifies me, but they're loving it. So,
I'm loving it. Yeah. What's terrifying about it then?
I just, the amount of chaos terrifies me. I'm like, oh, how can anything come together? But game jams are
Oh, yeah.
amazing, and it does.
Yeah, or just add one producer in the team and and then it scales again.
Yeah. I actually worked with a producer once. It was kind of cool because I'd doing it like ad hoc and indie, never had a producer, and that was the learning experience of game jams. Like, I'm a producer, like, cool. What do you do? It's like, oh wow. And at the end, I'm like, you need a producer. They're so cool.
Yeah, beyond 10 people, you will really need one. Yeah.
So, what roles? So, what is your core role in game development, and what other roles do you end up taking on quite regularly?
Originally, it was always programming, and my passion and specialty is multiplayer as well. But of course, running this company, I also need to do finances, etc. But really, I love doing programming the most, and still do it mostly as well. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So, and now, in a game jam, have you ever been thrown away from programming into another role, either
No.
voluntarily or sacrificially?
Well, everyone is always downloading free sounds now and then, but that's about it. No, I'm really trying to focus on just one role and getting doing that. Yeah, training myself the best in programming instead of trying to do everything myself, and yeah, that makes for better teamwork as well, I guess.
Yeah, appreciate that. Now, I guess there is one role you do take on before that, and that is like the idea generation, the role that we all partake
All
in,
right.
the chaos at the start. So,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you, what, maybe, what's one thing you've done when you're trying to come up with ideas that's worked really well with your team, and one thing you've done that maybe would never do again?
Yeah.
Do you have either of those?
Yeah. Well, when I think about those, like with Marooners, I believe it was with Marooners, we had a whiteboard and we just wrote down every idea there and kept discussing pretty much all ideas, but we should have narrowed down a little bit earlier. Maybe that's kept in hindsight. Uh, well, it's good to have a long conversation about the best idea. It's also good to just to narrow it down and keep focusing the talk and then yeah, getting it moving into an end goal. So just make a rule like okay, we can talk for 2 hours, but after the first hour, we need to have the top three ideas and don't even discuss the others anymore.
So, yeah,
Otherwise,
moving
it just
through
becomes an endless discussion.
and getting that refinement happening so that you can build a game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone else got any questions, input? If you just want to say hi, that's cool as well. We won't be offended. But we've got the time, and if you've got the interest, we can share some of Mike's experience, knowledge, adventures. Yeah.
We're really
So
just busy.
yeah. Any other adventures aside from game jams that heavily influence your ability to run this company and create these awesome games?
Yeah, similar to game jams. When I started, this was about like 12 years ago, from college, and I just started with making a lot of web games. The Unity web player was really big back then. We also run a portal, woogly.com, with exclusive Unity web player games only. And similar to the global game jams, I learned really a lot of my own skills thanks to just creating and publishing and completing small mini games. So we had like a coin dozer mini game or just sliding bombs around on a small iPhone game. And yeah, just finishing a lot of small games will teach you a lot more than just grinding on one big passion project for 2 years or something. So I think that
So,
was one of my pillars in the beginning that this really helped us grow.
so you had so many different coding experiences that you were prepared for most things.
Yeah, exactly. And you get the ability to throw away all your code and start anew with your new lessons instead of having to build on the same systems that don't really, well, that are outdated already.
Yeah. So I think actually this jam, one of my teams started off with his searching for his old code on Dijkstra's algorithm, trying to get some pathfinding happening. We're like, dude, it's in Unity and it's like nav meshes and it's awesome. He's like, where have I been? So yeah, now
Great.
he's already having an awesome adventure, and we've almost got our wolves running. I don't know where they're going to run, but they're running. So, one thing that you've mentioned that we haven't really explored is you said post game jam, looking at you've got to look at IP and law, and I think the naive the naive viewpoint is you make a game in game jam, you polish it up, and then you sell it, and it is a really sweet dream. But you mentioned the IP and legality in there. Like, just how much is there involved? Obviously, it's attainable. You've done it. You've succeeded. But is that something that people are going to need to dedicate serious time to, or do you just find a person who does it?
Yeah,
Or,
well, we did all of this ourselves, but it cost a lot of effort since we wanted to take it seriously. So, like for a long period of time, we worked on Marooners every Friday at my office with this team of independent freelancers, etc. But it's really, I mean, it's not even required. As long as everything is going well, you don't even need papers or contracts or whatever. But it's always when people get into arguments, and even just writing down the contracts will help you prevent any issues in the future. So yeah, it cost a lot of time, but it was mostly the talks about how we'd approach issues when if someone wants to leave, how to do that, etc. But it was really worth it since it prevented us from having any arguments. I mean, in the end, some people left this team, but all of us are okay with it, and it all went well. No arguments ever.
that's a really positive outcome from that. And having been for a few jobs, yeah, it is nice when it's easy on both sides for that to happen. So yeah, that's definitely a good reason to have one.
Yeah, yeah.
So, is there anything else? Is there anything you want to share with us? Anything upcoming? Any clues you want to give us to what's
Uh,
next?
yeah, we're working on two unannounced games right now, for my
Ooh,
company at least. But yeah, all my focus is on the game jam, of course. I'm still working on my game ID. After this
uh,
call, I'm hopping on the call with my teammate. We're just with two of us right now this year, starting working on ideas. Yeah, we're really
uh,
looking forward to that.
oh, Lump just found. He's been stalking you, and he found that you're actually pretty close to him, which is kind of cool. So, have
Oh, in the
you?
Netherlands. Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
in Alkmaar.
I don't know where Lump is, but must be somewhere around there.
Yeah, yeah.
So you are going to start your jamming. Have you seen the keynote yet?
Yeah, a few days
Yeah.
ago. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So most people watching the feed have seen the keynote. If you haven't seen the keynote, then you should definitely run away because we're going to be talking a little bit about it. It is public knowledge, so either run away or block your ears, cover your eyes for an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Are you excited about it?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What has it given you a million ideas? I think we ended
Yeah,
up.
like I said, the team is really inspiring me. It sounds so much like what you always want to see in games, like digging up treasure chests that are hidden, etc. But almost literally close to the team, of course.
Yeah, I think out of the team I'm with, we had like 8 people and all completely different ideas. And
Uh,
I think we like all had the exact same idea of losing and finding stuff, and then moved on to actual ideas. So yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. And what 10 game jams, and it's a good theme, I think. I don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
that we're gonna make something awesome, but we're gonna make something.
yeah. I really hope to also just make a small game that's still playable enough to release on Switch as well.
Ooh, you are putting the challenge rating way up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you need to do that because the years you've done game jams make it harder for yourself, or do you just like the punishment?
Well, every time I work on a game, I really want to publish it. Also, I mean, for me, it doesn't feel as useful if I don't share it with people.
That is, yeah, and that's probably partly why the game jam have created these sites to share the games, is to try and help these products go somewhere. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
maybe I
think
should also try to use itch.io much more, since that's what everyone's doing on the game jam, of course.
yeah, maybe. So, um, I don't think we need to try. Oh, hang on. Mike wants to know, do you have a custom engine or do you build on stuff like Unity, Unreal 4, etc.? It's a great question. Thank you, Lumps. And
Yeah, we use Unity since 2008 already, actually. But over the years, of course, we are making more and more use of the same pieces that seem to be working well, and we have a big framework that's making it more easy for us to make a Unity game and publish it on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, etc. Of course, Unity can easily make a build for these platforms, but you also need localization, input handling, user handling, etc. And that's code we're taking with us.
very nice. So to that end, do you have like your own custom? Do you write code for your editor as well as for the games? So you've got custom
Yeah,
code
but
running.
not really much editor code, and not no editor windows. But there is a lot of like editor code for the build process to make it foolproof. Like if someone would set a wrong build flag and set the game to debug mode or something, the build process will also always override these settings, and
Oh,
that's saving
nice.
a lot of time. Yeah.
That's good because yeah, shipping a broken build in a game jam is generally acceptable, but once you've got a paying fan base, yeah, you need to deliver. That's cool. Alright, so I think we've answered everybody's questions. I've had the most input, which is really cool. And is there anything you'd like to add before we sign off?
Yeah, maybe a challenge like who's the next to make a game that make yeah, 1 million downloads, I believe Marooners have, thanks to Xbox Gold deal. So yeah, anyone participating could probably achieve the same and sit with you next year. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you do make it, we absolutely want to hear about it because it is, I think, why do you think Game Jam games succeed of all games? It's like, I know there's so many people with dreams of making games, but for some of
Yeah.
them, they never happen.
And do you mean how many of them become commercial games, or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of successes come out of game jams, even though there's such a tiny amount of time to prototype. And we do
Yeah.
see AAA flops multiple times a year. But then on the other hand, we see these tiny little games made by sometimes absolute nobodies that go gangbusters. That's a really cool thing. I don't think we'll ever
Yeah.
find an answer, but what do you think makes game jam games a bit special?
Well, it's also because we're finally taking the time to do something new and creative again. In my own work, I also see myself. I haven't tried to come up with a new game for the last 2 or 3 years already, or something. Because we have big titles in the works, and it makes sense to make a new version of it, or sequel or something. And yeah, the game jam is a great excuse to finally get creative.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear, and we wish you all the best with your new creations, and hopefully, whatever you make is so good that you have to release it to us so we can all play it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, I won't let you down.
No, absolute pleasure anytime. We might even check in with you next year and see what you've been up to over the next 12 months. And if this
Yeah,
Game Jam game becomes published,
it's on Switch. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go buy a Switch now.
yeah, I'll send you free codes then.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and we will catch you later.
Yeah, thank you.